All right, so think about this for a second. That time between when you clock out and when your head finally hits the pillow, well, it turns out it says a lot more about your mind than you might think. It's in those moments, when all the pressure's off that our real mental habits tend to show up.
I mean, really think about it. Your entire day is, well, it's a performance, right? You're meeting deadlines, you're answering emails, you're playing a role, you're following the script. But what happens when the curtain falls? When there's no one to perform for anymore? Who are you then?
And yeah, this lays it out perfectly. Your daytime mind is all about reacting, sticking to the plan. But that nighttime mind, well, that's the real you. It's authentic, it's totally unscripted, and it's where the real processing happens. That's what we're going to dig into.
Now, here's something really important to get. What we're about to talk about, this isn't some productivity guru's checklist. These are not life hacks. Nope, these are just the things that, well, they just happen when a really sharp mind finally gets a little peace and quiet to do its thing.
So, let's get into our first section here. We're going to look at the first 4 big habits that start to pop up when the sun goes down for these highly intelligent folks.
Okay, so check these out. Number 1, they look back on the day, but not to beat themselves up. They're looking for patterns. Number 2, that last hour before bed, no screens. Gotta keep that mental clutter out. 3, they actually let their minds wander, on purpose. And 4, they read, but not just to absorb info. They read to kickstart their own thinking. Let's break a couple of these down a little more.
So that first one, reviewing the day, there's actually a name for it, reflective practice. And look, this is the massive difference between just going through life and actually learning from it. It's not about replaying the tape of your day. It's about pulling out the lessons. That's how you actually get smarter.
And what about that whole mind-wandering thing? This isn't just about zoning out. There's real science here. You're firing up something called the default mode network. Think of it as your brain's background processor. It's the thing that connects all the random dots and gives you those sudden aha moments. But here's the catch. It only switches on when you stop cramming your brain with new stuff.
Reading at night is a totally different game too, right? During the day, you're reading to get through something, a report, an article, whatever. It's about consumption, but at night, it's about ignition. You're reading to start a thought. You might read just one paragraph, put the book down, and just wander off in your own head for 20 minutes. The book stops being the destination and becomes the launch pad.
Okay, on to our next section, habits of cognitive growth. And these next few, they're a little weird, a little counterintuitive. They're all about how the smartest minds deal with problems, new ideas, and even how they rest.
And man, these really get to the core of it. We're talking about just sitting with a tough problem and trusting your brain to figure it out in the background. Or writing, not to make notes, but to actually figure out what you think. Shifting from being a content producer all day to a content receiver at night. And this last one is my favorite. Actually finding rest by holding on to a good question instead of desperately looking for an answer.
So that idea of sitting with a problem, that's based on a real psychological thing called incubation. It's like you're preheating an oven. You load up your brain with all the details of a really tricky problem, and then you just walk away. You stop actively trying. But your unconscious mind, oh, it's still cooking. It's working away in the background, connecting things you'd never think of. It's all about trusting that deeper part of your mind.
You know, this point about writing is so true. We think of writing as just documentation, but it's not. It's discovery. You might have this fuzzy, brilliant-seeming idea floating around in your head, but the second you try to write it down, you're forced to make it concrete, to give it shape. You honestly don't know what you really think about something until you've tried to write it down. And this quote from the poet Rilke, wow, it just nails that last habit. Live the questions now. I mean, think about that. Most of us are scrambling for answers before bed, right? We want everything tied up in a neat little bow so we can relax. But what he's saying here is that the truly curious mind finds a different kind of peace. A peace in just letting a good question hang in the air, letting it simmer.
So where does this all lead? What's the big idea here? Let's bring it all home and talk about what the night is really for.
It's this. The night is for integration, not just for collapse. Your evening isn't supposed to be about just crashing on the couch until it's time to do it all over again. It's the time when all the raw data you collected during the day actually gets turned into something useful.
I mean, this is the whole point, isn't it? This is where experience actually becomes wisdom. All these habits we've talked about, they're the engine that processes the day and transforms it into something that makes you, well, you. It's what makes you a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser tomorrow than you were today.
So let me just leave you with this one thought.
Tonight, instead of trying to solve everything and shut your brain down, what if you tried the opposite? What if you picked one interesting, unresolved question and just let it be? So I'll ask you directly, what question will you go to sleep with tonight?